Midsegment of a triangle. So the midsegment of a triangle is when the midpoints of two sides of a triangle are connected, they form a midsegment. So what this is saying is, like, if G is the midpoint of this side, so it cuts that whole side into two even parts, so like BG is going to be congruent to GC, and F is the midpoint here, and that's GF is going to be considered a midsegment. Okay, so GF is the midsegment. And also the midsegment is parallel to the third side and half of its length. Okay, so what this is saying here is that GF is half of BD. Okay, and one way that we do this is if we kind of look right here. Okay, so for example, if we know, I'm just going to make up some numbers here. If we know that GF is 3, then we know this here is 6. Okay, if we know, so if I get rid of that, if I just make up some new numbers here, if we know that this is 10, then this is 5. Okay, so whatever the bigger side is, if you get the smaller side, you just divide it by 2. If you know the smaller side, then you would multiply it by 2. Okay, so the relationship is always, you would multiply it by 2. Okay, so let's look at some examples. So given that E, F, and D are all midpoints, and FC is 5. Now, when it tells you stuff like this, it's important to label. So FC is 5, EF is 4, EC is 6. Okay, find the following. Now, we know that these points here that I'm currently marking, those are all midpoints. So if EC is 6, then I know that this has to be 6. So I'm just going to go ahead and label all these parts of my triangle that I know. Okay, so if FC is 5, I know this part has to be 5. Okay, now that tells me that this entire bottom here is 10. I know this entire side here is 12. Now, if I look here, here's this side here. It runs parallel to this, and so remember what we knew. If that whole bottom is 10, that means that right there, the smaller part is 5 that it runs parallel to. Okay, same thing here. If we're looking at this side right here, we look at the side the smaller side on the inside that it runs parallel to, right here. So if the big side was 12, this part's going to be 6. Okay, and then we got a couple more parts to figure out. So if we're looking at the 4 right here, okay, so we know the big side right here is going to be 8, which means each segment, if we cut it in half, is going to be 4. And now we should be able to go over here to the right and fill in everything we need to know. So BF is going to be 5. BD is going to be 4. AB is going to be 8. AC is going to be 12. DE is going to be 5. And DF is going to be 6. And now ask for the perimeter of ABC, triangle ABC. So we add up 8, 12, and 10. So that's going to be 30. Okay, so now let's find each indicated measure. So the way that the triangles are set up, it, says, like, we know that this right here is a midpoint because the two segments, these little lines right here, means that they're congruent. So we know that's a midpoint. Same thing here. Congruent. So that means it's a midpoint. So we know it's a midsegment. So if DE is 10, we know BC has to be 20. We just double it. Okay, on part B, it's the opposite. Okay, same thing. If we know it's 14, we need to cut it in half, so we get 7. Okay, so now on C, we get a little more complicated. So I'm going to start, this line is running parallel to this line. We'll start with X first. Okay, so if we start with X, we know that if we multiply this part by 2, we can set it equal to the big line, okay? So once again, I'm going to put that in red because that's what I had to multiply that by 2, because you multiply the short part by 2 to get the big part. Now I can solve. I'm going to subtract 5x. I'll get negative 3x equals negative 18. Divide by negative 3. So x equals 6. All right. Now we'll do the same thing for z. Okay. So z is running parallel to this line. Okay. So we'll do the same thing. Okay. So if we set them equal, z plus 8 equals 3z minus 10. Multiply the short side by 2. The z plus 8 was your short side, so that's what you multiply by 2. So I have 2z plus 16 equals 3z minus 10. So if I solve, if I subtract 2z, I get z, and if I add 10, I get 26. Okay, so moving on, just some more examples, very similar. All right, so same thing here. You can start off by setting them equal. So if we do 45 equals x minus 1, but remember, you take the short side, multiply it by 2. So I get 45 equals 2x minus 2. I'm going to add 2. And I'll get 47 equals 2x. I'll divide by 2. So 47 divided by 2 is going to be 23.5. All right, you can start off by setting them equal on part E. And remember, you multiply the short side by 2. So we have 5x minus 2 equals 8. I'm going to add 2. I'll get 5x equals 10. We'll divide by 5, so x equals 2. Okay. All right, now on F, use your mid-segments to solve, okay? You're given ax over here on the side, but we're not going to use it to solve for right now. We're looking at these parts right here. So we'll do 5x minus 7 equals x plus 1. This is the short side. That's what we're going to multiply by 2. So 5x minus 7 equals 2x plus 2. I'm going to subtract 2x. I'll get 3x. I'm going to add 7. So that gives me 9. I'll divide by 3. So x is going to equal 3. Now it wants to know ax. Okay, so now we're asking for this part. So ax is 2x minus 2, and I know x is 3. So 2 times 3 minus 2. So 6 minus 2 is 4. So ax is 4. Okay, on G, we got a lot going on here. So the first thing we can do is we can figure out, if I look and try to figure out x first, we can't do that because I don't know what my entire bottom is. I need to know what my entire bottom is. Oh, wait, yes, I do. I'm sorry. My entire bottom is 36. Okay. All right, so I'm using these two lines. So I can do 2x equals 36. And remember, the short side, you have to multiply by 2. So now I get 4x equals 36. Divide by 4. and so x is going to equal 9. Okay? So if I do y, so now if I do y, I'm using these sides, so I can do y minus 2 equals 24. Remember, you take your short side, multiply it by 2. So I have 2y minus 4 equals 24. I'm going to add 4. So 2y equals 28. Divide by 2. So y is 14. And now I'm ready to do z. So z is here. We're using these two parts for z. So I have z plus 8 equals 38. Remember, multiply your short side by 2. So 2z plus 16 equals 38. So if I subtract 16 from 38, I'll get 2z equals 22. Divide by 2, and z equals 11. All right. And that's how we do mid-segments.